Have you ever noticed how some people seem to get everything done without even trying, while others struggle to finish the simplest tasks? The truth is, it's rarely about motivation. In the United States, we're told, find your drive, and you'll succeed, but motivation is a fleeting feeling. Some days you have it, some days you don't, and that inconsistency is exactly why millions of people struggle to stay disciplined. Now, imagine a country where discipline is not optional. A country where kids aren't asked to feel motivated to clean, study, or follow rules they are taught to do it consistently every single day. That country is Japan, and their approach is dramatically different from the one most Americans experience. In Japan, students clean their classrooms every day. They sweep, mop, organize, and take care of their school environment. They serve lunch to their classmates and ensure that every space is clean before leaving. It's not a reward system, and there's no motivation talk involved. It's simply expected. Contrast that with a typical American school, where janitors clean the floors, cafeteria staff serve meals, and students often leave their desks messy. It's not that American students are lazy, it's just that discipline is not structured as a habit. In the same way, this difference has massive consequences. Japanese students grow up learning responsibility, accountability, and respect for others. They don't need a motivational speech to complete a task because discipline has been ingrained in them since childhood. Americans, on the other hand, often rely on motivation, which is unpredictable. One day you're full of energy, the next you're procrastinating, and those habits follow you into adulthood. Think about your own life for a second. How many times have you started a project full of energy, only to quit halfway because motivation disappeared? Now, imagine if discipline was drilled into your routine from the start, so quitting wasn't even an option. That's the difference between being taught discipline and relying on motivation. But let's take this further. Discipline isn't just about cleaning or following rules, it's about creating habits that carry over into every part of your life. In Japan, adults carry this mindset into work, relationships, and even personal health. Employees arrive on time, meet deadlines, and take pride in small acts of responsibility without needing constant external rewards. In the US, workplaces often struggle with punctuality, procrastination, and reliance on extrinsic incentives like bonuses or praise. Motivation can push you temporarily, but it rarely sustains long-term consistency. Let's look at a real-life example. Kenji, a Japanese office worker, wakes up every morning at 5:30 a.m., goes for a short run, prepares his lunch, and arrives at work without fail. He doesn't need motivation. It's routine. His habits, taught from childhood, keep him consistent. Now think about Alex, an American worker. He often hits snooze multiple times, rushes breakfast, and sometimes shows up late because he didn't feel motivated to get moving. Over the years, these small differences compound. Kenji steadily grows in his career, maintains strong relationships, and takes care of his health. Alex struggles with consistency, often blaming himself for lack of motivation instead of building disciplined habits. Here's a question for you. Which approach would you prefer for your own life? Relying on motivation that comes and goes, or developing habits that make discipline automatic? Comment below, I want to know what you think. The key lesson is this: discipline can be taught, motivation cannot. Motivation is emotional, discipline is structural. You can't rely on feelings to build your career, your body, or your finances. You can, however, build routines and habits that create consistency no matter how you feel. In Japanese schools, kids learn discipline through tiny, consistent actions. Cleaning the classroom may seem simple, but it teaches responsibility. Taking care of lunch duties teaches empathy and teamwork. Practicing manners teaches respect. These are not one-time lessons. They are repeated daily until they become part of who you are. In America, the focus is often on rewards or punishments. Finish your homework, you get candy. Misbehave, you lose privileges. That approach teaches conditional behavior. It works when incentives exist, but fails when motivation fades. Have you ever tried to stick to a routine but gave up? because there was no immediate reward. That's the problem with relying on motivation instead of building discipline. And that's why Japanese adults often outperform Americans in consistency, not because they're more talented, but because they were trained to be disciplined from the start. Let's talk about another example, sports. In Japan, young athletes don't just practice when they feel like it. They practice every day, often performing repetitive drills that feel tedious but teach precision, focus, and persistence. American kids, on the other hand, often practice only when they feel like it, or when competitions are near. As a result, Japanese athletes often develop stronger foundational skills and mental toughness, while American athletes rely on occasional bursts of motivation to perform. And it's not just schools or sports, this approach extends to work ethic. Japanese companies expect employees to take responsibility for small tasks, from cleaning the office to organizing meetings. These routines may seem minor, but they build a culture of accountability and reliability. In the U.S., employees are often rewarded for results but not for consistency or attention to detail, which can lead to uneven performance. Here's a question for you. If you could start teaching yourself discipline today, what small habit would you begin with? Cleaning your workspace, exercising daily. Comment below, I want to see what you choose. Discipline also builds self-respect. Japanese children learn that their actions affect others. Leaving a mess, slacking off, or failing to contribute isn't just about personal consequences. It impacts the group. That sense of accountability strengthens character. Americans often emphasize individuality and personal choice, which is great for creativity. But without structured accountability, habits falter and motivation is required to get things done. Let's dive deeper into the psychology behind this. Motivation is chemical. It's dopamine-driven and temporary. Discipline is structural. It's habit-driven, reinforced by repetition, expectation, and social norms. The more you practice disciplined actions, the more automatic they become. This is why Japanese routines produce reliable outcomes. They remove the dependency on fluctuating emotions. Consider personal health. Japanese people often exercise regularly, not because they're inspired every morning, but because movement is part of their daily routine. Morning stretches, walking to school or work, maintaining posture. These small disciplined acts accumulate over a lifetime. In the U.S., exercise is often sporadic, driven by motivation or guilt. One week you're on fire, the next you skip days or weeks, and consistency suffers. Here's another real-life scenario. Mika, a Japanese teenager, wakes up, brushes her teeth, makes her bed, practices piano for 30 minutes, and then leaves for school. Every action is habitual and disciplined. Motivation isn't even considered, it's just what she does. Now think about a typical American teenager who might skip breakfast, wake up late, and only practice hobbies if inspired. Over time, the Japanese teenager develops consistency, responsibility, and confidence, while the American teenager depends on bursts of motivation to maintain progress. So, what lessons can we apply in our own lives? First, start small. Choose one task you will do consistently every day, no matter how you feel. It could be making your bed, journaling, exercising, or even setting aside time for learning. Second, remove reliance on motivation. Discipline isn't about feeling inspired, it's about taking action regardless of your emotions. Third, hold yourself accountable. Treat your habits like they impact others, even if it's just yourself. That sense of responsibility strengthens discipline. Ask yourself, what small routine could you start today that will compound into a habit over months or years? Write it down. Comment below, I want to see your plan. Remember, motivation comes and goes. Some days you'll feel unstoppable. Other days, you'll feel like giving up. But if you build discipline, those fluctuations won't matter. You'll continue moving forward, day after day, habit after habit. Finally, think about the bigger picture. Japanese discipline isn't about perfection or rigidity, it's about consistency, respect, and accountability. These habits build stronger individuals, more reliable workers, and more responsible citizens. American culture has incredible strengths. But when it comes to teaching lifelong discipline, there's a lesson to learn from Japan. Teach it, don't motivate it. So here's the question I want you to answer. If you could adopt one Japanese-style discipline habit today, what would it be? Cleaning, punctuality, consistency in study or work? Comment below. I want to see which habit resonates with you. Discipline is a skill. Motivation is a feeling. Skills can be taught, practiced, and perfected. Feelings cannot. The Americans who succeed despite inconsistent motivation often learn discipline later in life. The Japanese are taught discipline from day one. Which path will you choose? Because here's the truth: motivation fades. Energy fluctuates. But discipline lasts a lifetime.